From MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
Well, it is a dry spring, and you know it when you see something like this. Wildfire on the 1st of April near Four Corners, what neighboring homeowners said. Coming up.
Plus, Montana lawmakers vote down a bill to make state DUI laws more strict. Just ahead, find out what DUI prevention measures elected officials voted against.
Well, happy Friday, Southwest Montana. There's a beautiful shot from the Montana State University campus on this Good Friday. Blessings to you if you celebrate such a holiday. Blessings to you on this Good Friday. Beautiful out today, Matt. That's
beautiful. We're going to talk about those fire danger concerns here in our weather. We're going to take a look at where we stand for our drought monitor. And we don't have any rain on the forecast. That may give you a hint, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, temperatures this morning at least holding into the 20s for a few areas, most areas into the 30s. 13 degrees, our coolest temperature in West Yellowstone. We do have a few clouds trying to work their way across the area. Don't expect to see any rain today. I'd be shocked to see any showers develop. Our temperatures are going to pop up into the 70s. Wind speeds out of the south between 10 and 20 miles an hour. Very dry conditions for the next couple of days anyway, so our fire concerns are still elevated. We're going to talk more about that and a look at your forecast in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Matt. A wildfire broke off yesterday near Zade Lane near Four Corners.
Yeah, there were several homes in that area. No severe structure damage being reported by the residents. Cause of that blaze not yet been determined. One resident says she and her husband were at home taking a nap when they opened the door to see a fire had started in their yard. Now that blaze spread quickly. Residents say they're grateful for the firefighters' quick response time.
It was just smoke and flames everywhere, especially in that big wood pile over there. The flames were like 10 feet high and the grass was burning towards the house. It was terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying. Residents, by the way, reporting no injuries as a result of that fire, fortunately.
Well, of course, this week the sun's out, the birds are singing, and you'd think spring it definitely is in the air.
No question about it. Meteorologists Matt Elwell and Mike Hurd are paying close attention to the snowpack. Matt's going to talk about it in a little bit. As we think about the summer of 2021, what could it look like when it comes to wildfires and drought?
MTN's Gabby Crevitt caught up with Mike on the weather patio.
I mean, we're barely holding on to normal right now. I mean, we are just barely holding on.
March was unusual in terms of snowfall in the valley, particularly at lower elevations. But MTN's Mike Hurd is really focusing on the snowpack in the mountains as he considers what summer 2021 could look like.
You know, when you look at snowpack, you got three levels. You got the valley floor, you got the mid-levels, foothills, and then you got the higher mountains. And it's the higher mountains that is the most critical, because that's what's going to give us the runoff for the spring and summer season and the water year, irrigation, watering your lawn, crops and stuff like that.
And with the warm weather lately, the valley snowpack is gone, and now there's concern for mid-level and mountain snowpack as we look forward to some of the warm days ahead. So with all the unknowns about how snowpack will fare at higher elevations in April and May, there's a lot that hinges on the upcoming rainy season, especially when we think about wildfires and drought in months to come.
If we come out of spring, if we come out of May and June especially, where we didn't get quite as much moisture as we were hoping, yeah, we're going to see a bad fire year. But some years we can get monsoonal moisture during the summer, and yeah, they can bring a lot of lightning, but they can at times bring a lot of moisture too.
I asked Mike if he was concerned about a big wildfire summer. Simply put, he said it was a bit too early to know for sure. However,
but if you want to look at the big picture, trying to analyze mountain snowpack, moisture content that we've had over the last several months, you know, you add all that up, well, what are we looking at? And right now, I would say we are on the fence. We are on the fence. It could literally go either way.
Reporting in Bozeman, Gabby Crevitt, MTN News.
6:34 now. Yesterday in Helena, the House Judiciary Committee tabled a bill that would impose stricter laws on a person convicted of a second DUI.
That decision was made even after emotional testimony from the family of a boy killed in February in what Missoula County prosecutors allege was a DUI crash on Highway 93. The family of 10-year-old Brecken Beard told legislators this bill could prevent the kind of tragedy that's devastated them by intervening in the process sooner.
I'm not just a angry, upset parent that has lost their son. My son would be alive today had there been more severe penalties and longer probation, more jail time, a longer monitoring period.
When a person gets a second DUI, it's a huge red flag that something is not working in this person's life, and that just punishing them is not enough. If they could get better, they would.
That bill, sponsored by Republican Representative Sharon Grief, would impose an automatic license suspension for 2 years after a second DUI conviction and require a person to wear an alcohol monitoring ankle bracelet for 2 years.
In other news, another judge has removed himself from the case that will decide the constitutionality of a new law giving Republican Governor Greg Gianforte sole discretion to appoint state judges. And it may be difficult to find a replacement. State District Court Judge Kurt Kruger of Butte had been chosen to sit in for Supreme Court Chief Justice Mike McGrath, who recused himself last week. But Judge Kruger tells MTN News he'll be recusing himself too after it was revealed that he said in an email in January that he adamantly opposed the bill creating the new law. Now, a lawsuit before the High Court says the new law is unconstitutional. The law got rid of a commission that chose finalists for the judicial vacancies and now gives the power to choose entirely to the governor. Of course, Governor Gianforte proposed and supported the bill enacting the new law. Judge McGrath says he recused himself because he met with Gianforte earlier this year and tried to talk him out of pursuing the change. Justice McGrath also said it may be difficult finding a judge who has not taken a position on the bill. Kruger's email was in response to a poll from the Montana Judges Association asking where judges stood on that bill.
In the meantime, 3 major bills to overhaul Montana's marijuana laws are all headed to the full House.
But not before some dramatic moments. MTN's Jonathan Ambarin reports it came after 2 were initially voted down and then lawmakers reconsidered their actions.
The legislature is heading out for a short Easter break and approaching another key deadline. That rush meant they had to take quick action on 3 major marijuana bills. House Bills 670, 701, and 707 each lay out a competing vision for how the future recreational marijuana system in Montana should be implemented. 670 would create a single license for medical and recreational marijuana dispensaries and use tax revenues for a trust fund to address negative impacts of marijuana use. 701 would have separate licenses for medical and recreational sales and send the money to an account for mental health and substance abuse treatment. 707 would set up a 3-tiered system with marijuana growers selling to wholesalers who would sell to dispensaries, and it would put tax revenue in the general fund. The House Business and Labor Committee held hearings this week on all 3, and the House Taxation Committee heard testimony on the bills Thursday morning. If any of these bills are to move forward, they have to pass out of the House by April 8th, so committee chairs said they had to take action on them Thursday. Democrats generally opposed all 3 bills, saying they had issues with the changes they made from the voter-approved initiative. Several Republican lawmakers said they wanted to see all 3 bills move on to the House floor and possibly the Senate, so there's more time to consider what they see as good points in each. But House Business and Labor initially approved 670 and voted down 707. Then Taxation voted to reject 701, the bill endorsed by legislative leadership. Immediately after the votes, lawmakers held discussions in the hallway outside the committee rooms. Eventually, they returned to their committees and reconsidered their actions on both 707 and 701, agreeing to send them to the full House. House Speaker Wiley Galt says the 3 bills will appear on the House floor on Tuesday, and they're expecting a number of potential amendments. But whichever bills make it through the House, it's likely there will be much more work done on them in the Senate. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
Interesting note here. Now, if the legislature can't agree on any marijuana reform bill, recreational sales will still go forward under the framework actually laid out in the voter-approved initiative 190.
Lots of opinions there.
Holy cow, yeah.
Well, when we continue, just because you're the First Lady doesn't mean you can't have a little fun on April Fool's Day. Coming up, see how Jill Biden pranked the White House press corps on April 1st.
But first, let's check in with our friend Tony DeCopel to see what's coming up on this Good Friday edition of CBS This Morning.
Hey, good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, day 4 of Derek Chauvin's murder trial saw explosive testimony from a former supervising police officer and 2 paramedics. Now only on CBS This Morning, we'll talk to Minneapolis City Councilor Jeremiah Ellison, whose father, the state attorney general, is the lead prosecutor in the case. Also breaking overnight, a devastating train crash in Taiwan being called the worst there in decades. We'll have the latest on what we know about what caused it. And on this Easter weekend, we visit Jerusalem to show off one of the holiest sites in Christianity and talk about how it's being affected by the pandemic. All that and more coming up at 7.